Hello traders, this is Rich from Tradesight. This is the market preview for Wednesday, April 16th, 2014. A couple key considerations here. This is a holiday shortened week, and the coming session is going to be the day before options expiration. Option expiration for this month is going to be this Thursday, so definitely be aware of that. We could see some strike price movement, and so all of your techniques that you want to use on the option expiration pre-day are definitely going to be something that you want to be on top of for the coming session. This past session we had kind of a two-way market. We had a pretty good drop intraday that was ultimately recovered by all the major averages. We closed up 15 on the ES, 21 on the Nasdaq, and we put on 109 points on the Dow. I think the key thing to take away here, though, is that the Nasdaq, the NQs, still have relative weakness. The ES was up 0.8%. The NQs were up only 0.61%. And don't forget about the beta adjustment that you need to make. If the ES is up 0.8%, if the Nasdaq is up 0.8%, Nasdaq is actually underperforming because it's more volatile. So just to keep pace, Nasdaq would need to be up about 1% or so. If the broad market side is up 0.8%. So we definitely had a lot of underperformance today in the Nasdaq side. The TLTs, which we use to represent the bonds, because not everybody has the entitlement to the bond futures, was up on the day. Oil was up on the day, and gold was sharply lower at the opening, and then start to rebound and kind of climb back. The advanced declines on New York were somewhat positive, plus 650 issues or so. But on Nasdaq, even though the Nasdaq was up on the day, the internals were not good. The advanced declines were minus 200 issues. So prices were higher on Nasdaq overall, but there were more losing issues than advancing issues, which is a sign of a bear market, or a down tape, if you will. So here's a look at the ES futures. In the previous preview, we were talking about watching the 2-day range. We broke out of that range to the upside, and we were talking about watching the 50 DMA and the 10 EMA as a level, and pretty much that was the high on the day. So that's going to be a real pivot point tomorrow. We closed up near the high of the day. We actually closed out the 5-minute chart with kind of a little cup and handle look to it. So if we can gap up tomorrow, we definitely have to be on guard for a gap fill back down into this area, because it's going to feel that draw of the 50 and the 10 period moving average. Not to mention that that round number at the 6/8 level on the GAN box. If the market can proceed higher tomorrow, the 7/8 level at 1859 is going to be in play, and then this double level right here, we had two candles up here, are going to be really important. 1866. 1867 is going to be really important on the futures chart here. To the downside, the 4/8 level at 1812.50 is going to be important. We're 8 bars down as of today, but the key thing to take away here is that if we get our 9 candle up in here, this startup phase to the downside is not going to be perfected, and it's going to be really just kind of a bounce mechanism more than anything else, at least for now. Moving on to the NQ side of the market, we saw some relative weakness earlier in the day. We had some, you see the big long tail down here. A lot of folks are going to be real positive about this. Oh, look at this. We plunged down here. We undercut this previous low. We're pivoting back to the upside. This is all just oversold energy at work here for now. We're 8 bars down in the startup phase. When we get back up to this 2/8 level at 35.16, we're going to start having some more problems again. This is going to be some resistance, and even if we can break and pivot above there, we've got layers and layers and layers of resistance on the upside here. So until the internals really start to improve, this is really just a bounce. Keep in mind here, we're up at almost 37.50, plunged down to 33.98. Okay, we spanned the entire GAN box here. We went from just under 8/8 okay, to just under 0 ace. So we made a full 8 ace move in the Gann box. So the ultimate target here is going to be the 4 ace level on a bounce, and that doesn't necessarily make for a reversal as much as just a good selling opportunity for shorts to start to leg into a market that's actually starting to turn fairly bearish here. Key thing here on the TLTs, we did make a new high in the move. We closed above the plus 2 ace level, so we are going to be frame shifting this to the upside. These levels are going to be different tomorrow. We're going to shift this to the upside here. So this is not an indication here that we're finding a bottom. Usually, you want to find a bottom without exceeding. That's in the broad market, because this is the alternative asset class. So you want to find the bottom without frame shifting. We're frame shifting now, and that's definitely not a positive here. So we're going to frame shift this to the upside. We've taken out the risk level here of this very lateral kind of pathetic trading range here in 1 through 13. As expected, we came in to game the risk level and took it out to the upside. So this is actually looking like it's probably going to go up for another day or two maybe. We're at bar 7 on the startup phase. We're going to have some resistance when we get to 8 and 9, but we did frame shift, and that's definitely a notable development. Here the gold futures that had a really wide-ranging day, but when all is said and done here, all we did was break back down below the 50 and the 10-period moving average. We're still above the 200, but we really need to get back below the 200 here on a closing basis, on a settlement basis, to start talking about the 4 ace level at 1250, which could come into play. The other thing to keep in mind here is that we had all this price action on fairly low volume here, so it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a day of reckoning. Really need to see how we address this candle, but unfortunately we've just got this really wide range here to deal with on the chart, which is going to kind of cloud things until we relieve this range one way or another. So above 1331 and below the previous low at 1277. If you guys like to trade the copper stocks, Freeport Copper and whatnot, we did have a gap down here in copper, but this is a contra candle. We closed above the day's open, even though we were down on the day. We were down the previous day, so we could definitely see this gap come into play. So if you like to play in the mining stocks, definitely focus on the copper type stocks tomorrow. If we do start to walk up tomorrow, these could be some pretty nice setups in here. Here's a look at the NDX versus the S&P. In this ratio, when the NDX is showing relative strength, this ratio is on the rise. And right now, clearly, this ratio has been on the low. And in fact, today we even made a new low on the move here. We're actually losing the midpoint of this channel here with this reading today from today's session. So we continue to lose relative strength in the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is actually on a short-term basis starting to get a little bit oversold versus the NDX. You see the protracted move here off the top. So we definitely see a little bit of a bounce back in the NDX, and we might see that going into Friday and into the first week of the new option cycle, where we start to see a little bit of leveling off. But what you really want to pay attention to is what happens once the options players are done kind of resetting for the new option cycle, which will be Tuesday, Wednesday next week. After that, if we continue to see sloppiness in the market, and especially if the NDX doesn't really bounce and then the S&P starts to weaken, that's going to be a real sign of weakness. If on the other hand, if the NDX starts to reassert itself and develops real relative strength versus the S&P, that could be a point here where you want to start looking for reversals in the things that were first down. First down would have been biotech and some of the high beta technology companies. Things like that could definitely start to bounce, and then you want to start looking at the 10, the 50s, and also the Gann levels for some reversals back to the upside. But let's not get too excited about that yet. We have to see what the market wants to do after the expiration. Here's a look at our multi-sector daily chart. We had a little bit of bounce in most of the issues. Gold obviously was really weak on the day, so the XAU was weak. Starting to see a little bit of a lift here in the BTK. I think one of the keys here is to see some bidding interest in the BTK, but it's not so much bidding interest, just as much as the seller is just running out of offers. So once the BTK starts to really improve to the upside here, we're definitely going to see a little bit of a short-term bounce in the Nasdaq side of the market. But the BTK is really going to be the driver. It was the first one up, had the most relative strength over the last 12 months, and if we start to see it bounce, it could have a pretty powerful bounce here to the upside. And it doesn't mean these things are long-term holds or anything like that, and that's the bottom and it's time for new highs. It just means that there's going to be some tradable setups here, and definitely don't want to miss them. All right, here's the individual sectors ranked from best to worst. The OSX was the top gun of the day. It was actually even better than all the defensive stuff. The BTK started to bounce a little bit, up less than 1%. I think the key thing here, though, is the oil services was top gun. That's what you want to see, especially in a tape where there was some weak commodity prices out there. The oil futures weren't particularly strong today. The transports were also fairly strong, up a little less than 1%. So what you really want to see is you want to see these things start to assert themselves. It's okay if the banking index is kind of struggling here, and if some of the early cycle stuff is lagging, but you need to see some good healthy rotation into the late cycle stuff like the transports and all of the stocks in the energy complex. All right, folks. Well, good luck tomorrow. Definitely be ready for more options manipulation. Be aware of your strikes. Google and Apple, especially like to trade at round prices. So keep that on the radar, and we'll see what happens. Remember, holiday shortened week. So Friday we're off because of the holiday, and then we'll come back on Monday and dig into the new option cycle. All right, folks. As always, thanks for listening. This has been Rich for Tradesight.